152. Just kidding. It's actually episode, I think, 56. Last week, I was looking at the wrong line when I hosted for James as he was at GenCon, and I said it was episode 61. I was not trying to misrepresent us in any way, but we are only 55 episodes in. We're not at 61 or 355 or whatever I just said, right? So, yeah. James, you're back.
Oh, hey, we're already started? Holy crap.
We've started. We went live.
I timed that wrong.
So
normally I can time that. Normally, like I grab my drink, I come back, and then it just starts. And apparently I've delayed from Gen Con because wow, that was a weekend. I'll tell you what, first year was great because it was so small and it was just a way to kind of understand what was going on at Gen Con. And then they like doubled the people this year and it was intense.
So that's what this is all about today, right?
Yeah.
You guys are going to just debrief Gen Con and I get to sit here and be jealous?
I mean, you can chime in, of course, but yeah, you get to be jealous. So, we just, Tavern Talks is all about learning and getting to be a better GM, and what better way to do so than getting the chance to go to a convention like Gen Con and GM with new people and GM with beginners, veterans, and all these people. And then on top of it, the shows, the events, everything they put on there is just a way to better yourself in the hobby, which I think is awesome. And that's kind of why I brought Mandy on here, because she, being the coordinator of GUI Cube and understanding all the ins and outs of everything, what was your most exciting point of Gen Con?
God, there's a couple.
Right?
So the GUI party was awesome because that's the time when I get to interact with more people. And that's the most special thing about Gen Con or any con for me, is getting to meet new people and talk with them or meet with old friends. And so that was very exciting. But then obviously the most thrilling part was the Great GUI Dungeon Game Show, which...
Yeah, I got to be a part of that.
Well.
Yes,
and you won a prize.
Get to be a part of that. Oh, and Corey
and James got to be a part of it. Yeah, Corey was a part of it in the Twitch stream, which thank you, Corey. And James got to be a part of it by being on the actual stream next to Luke Gygax and Nathan Forge.
So that was all thanks to that wonderful lady right there too, because she set me up for that one. So,
sorry, go ahead.
It was awesome. No, like I said, for me, last year was kind of this just blur because we had less people. Then we had to man extra things because half of your team was out for the pandemic, and it was just run. This year it was still run, but there was more enjoyment out of it. I got to do what I love doing, which is game mastering and helping out, but it wasn't as much of a stress push to make sure, okay, we need 2 people at the booth at all time. We need these people in the room. It was just more of everybody had their job and everybody really did wonderful with their job. And we got to try some new things out. I got to test out Gilas Game Board, which have been our sponsor since last year at Gen Con. And mine should be arriving here soon. So I'm excited about that. And we got to meet a lot of people that I've been either on Tavern Talks before or have been preparing to join Tavern Talks here in the next couple months. We get to put a face to, a name or a Discord title and that kind of thing. And I think that's part of the coolest thing about cons, is that you get to finally do that, because that's what happened the first year I was at Gen Con. I got to meet all the GUI people that I've been writing with and working with and all that stuff. So yeah, is this your first, Mandy, or no?
This was my second year at Gen Con. So our first year was very different. It was 2019, and is this like, should I just talk or?
Yeah. That's what this is about. This is all about just.
Because I can
explain this real easy. This is the easiest show I run. I literally sit here and talk for an hour and a half, and people love it.
Sounds good. Okay, so we launched GUI Cube at GenCon in 2019. And so like we were brand new, completely brand new. Nobody knew of us. We ran like one Facebook ad, but like we were literally finishing our materials. And then we loaded up this trailer and we brought way too much material for this 10 by 10 booth. And we brought way too much people. We had like, I think like 15 people from the Goo crew there. And it was madness, like trying to stuff all of us in this like 10 by 10 booth with all this product. And like, I mean, we brought like 5 times as much product as we ended up needing. And as you know, those boxes are very heavy. And we didn't have it down to an art yet of how to like maneuver the boxes. So we were like carrying them all in like with like small dollies and yeah. So I have a lot of fun memories from 2019, but it was a totally different experience than this last one. 2019 was like, well, my experience was because the booth was so full of people. I was like, well, I happened to bring my camera. So I decided, okay, I can contribute to this a different way. So like I went around and got like video footage and like interviewed just random Gen Con guests. I did loads of photos of cosplayers. And so I spent most of my time outside of the booth, just, you know, meeting people and trying to like, oh, let me take your picture here. Oh, by the way, go please check out GUI Cube. We have awesome stuff. And I didn't actually know that much about D&D at that time. I didn't know how to play because I was very fresh to D&D before we started GUI Cube. And then once we started GUI Cube, I was like, well, I should probably learn how to play this. Yeah.
You're like, learn what I'm trying to
what is this thing? Promote. Yeah, exactly. Just like what we do with any client, except this was like total immersion into it. It wasn't just like doing a little bit of research. This is like, well, I need to actually understand so I can talk about this. And so I probably played like 2 sessions of D&D of The Darkest Dream before I went there. And then I was still like trying to sell this, but like I also didn't know. I was just like listening to Kim's catchphrases. Kim is Alphinius-Goo. I was like listening to him, and then I would like try and like repeat what he said.
Yeah, that's
I do that today. I've been playing
that's a
decades,
challenge.
and I still do that.
Say, that's a challenge anyways, right? Like trying to get that pitch down.
I will
say though, I listen to one of my favorite ways to tell the story actually is I listen to Mike. Mike has this just precise way of doing it. I don't have to listen to a 2-hour speech like Kim does. I get my 15-minute spiel that explains exactly what the Darkest Dream is and what the Hatatas are, and I'm good. You know, that was all I needed. I don't need the 2-hour speech. Don't tell.
I'm going to say this online so everyone's going to know. I'm just going to say it. I 100% prefer Mike's sales pitch to Alphinius's, and they have the same amount of effectiveness. Although Alphinius will say that he sells more, and Mike will say that he sells more, but they both equally sell. But Mike just does it in a shorter period of time.
And I can say that no matter what, I sold one at Genghis Khan without Mike or Alphinius.
So I just have to say this about Kim and Mike. I came up to the table at Genghis Khan 2020, 2019, whatever that the first Genghis Khan you guys did right after Gen Con. And it was Mike who sold me on the package deal with all the stuff. So I just have to say it was Mike that sold me my stuff and got me.
Mike that sold you.
Now, with that said, I will say I have watched both of them sell, and there is nothing like Alphinius and his charisma. Like I have never seen a salesperson have as much when Alphinius has actually had a good night's sleep and is not just dog tired or had just had COVID like 3 weeks ago, like last Gen Con. Like there's nothing like Alphinius with energy actually like up there selling his stuff. He would gather like 10 people and like would just talk to all of them somehow, and he'd like come round, you over there, come over here, and like he is really good about telling the story and really capturing people's attention in that way and like captivating them. I is a way I would put it. But Mike is go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I think that what it was more about, hey, look how awesome this is from Kim. And I was like, yes, this is very awesome, but I'm at a convention. There's a lot of awesome stuff.
Right.
Mike was like, I'm going to save you time. And I said, oh, now I'm interested. So
that is more you were going to cut your prep time down 50 to 75%. Interested? Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed I am.
Maybe that is
let me show
exactly
you
what I'm
how
interested in.
Let me show you how we do this and how we
Although
make your life easier.
He's a liar. He did not cut my time down because I printed a 3D carnival to run Darkest Dream on. And my prep time was 2 months of painting and printing. And so I think he lied about that. I actually had a lot more prep time.
I think it depends. Okay, there's a couple things it depends on. First off, if you are just running the modules and that is what you are doing, if you're running our adventures, prep time is cut. If you buy the Weirded World chapter 1 and then chapter 2 and chapter 3, and then you start thinking about all these little threads that you can put throughout your world and all these little things that you can do, in some ways it will cut your prep time still. I mean, you'll have interesting ideas to start with, but then you kind of start going off in your own direction. And again, it just goes down that path of, well, now we have a whole adventure that's outside of the modules, so.
And voila.
I know. And that is tabletop mystics.
Hey, I was supposed to have a box set for Plots in Darkenhaven before I started, but I'm going to hand wave that.
We're working on it. We're getting there. It'll hopefully in the next few months we'll be able to wrap up our Kickstarter.
And honestly, it's been very helpful having Jens on the show. As Jens is kind of the lead editor for the Darkenhaven box set. And of course, knowing that we're doing this show, we've had all the support in the world from GUI Cube, giving us the texts early, so that we have the draft text,
the artwork,
so
good.
all of that is really great stuff. And here's the one that I'm gonna gush the goo right now because I want to say this. The one thing that I love about GUI Cube is it's not just a product, it's a way to inspire people to do. If you look at all of the work that people have done on their own to take these box sets, take the stuff here, and the collaborative community that's creating all this, it doesn't stop with here's the book, we're done. It's like here's the book, and that's the beginning. And that's what I love about it. Is like I don't know, I love being a part of the community and having so much inspiration to not only run great games, but also to be asked to collaborate in the creating of the world itself. That's awesome to me.
I mean, who goes from 2 years ago not even knowing what this company was to writing full-blown adventures for them in 2 years? It just doesn't. You don't see it in the industry ever. But the company gives you that opportunity as long as you're willing to stick around and put some work in beforehand. And I don't know, I gotta get teary-eyed now.
Don't cry, Jesus. Don't cry.
You should have brought a copy. Do you have your Witch's Wrath?
Yeah, I have my copy. It's
I should show it. Now, just to preface this, James is about to bring out the Witch's Wrath, which he authored. But this is not the final version. This is the rushed GM version that we made for GenCon because we were running GenCon games. There we are. Oh, it's wrapped still. Even
you better believe it. This one's not opening.
Okay.
This has got all the typos and everything.
It's got all of the mistakes. Yeah. Fair enough. So that was a gift that we gave to GMs who ran games at the convention, and we'll also be gifting some to the people who ran online games on like Star and Adam and Pam, all those marvelous people Curtis, there's one other person and I can't remember, Christy, who ran amazing games online as well, because there's an online Gen Con if you can't attend the actual Gen Con, which is awesome.
Right. Corey, I don't know why you weren't running games all weekend.
I had a Plots in Darkenhaven to get ready for.
That's right.
There were none of my people were here, so and I also didn't actually know what my weekend was going to be like. Like I said, pre-show, they planned Gen Con for the first week of school, and my life being in education is really hard during the week before and the first week of school. So
Right.
I couldn't actually commit, not knowing what my weekend would look
Which
like.
I'm just giving you crap, of course. There's all the love in the world for Corey. This man
and thanks for the phone calls during the weekend and make me even more jealous as you give me a phone call and tell
Did
me how
James
much
do
fun
that?
James and Austin both called me.
We
Okay.
blew up his phone.
I'm going to tell you something, Corey. Let me just say this. At one point, I was talking to James, and I think Austin was there. And I go, "Are you guys having a good weekend?" And James says, "I just wish Corey was here. I'm missing my other half."
I did.
And I was like, "That is so
realize,
touching."
though, Corey and I really started connecting right after GenCon, because that's when we launched Tavern Talks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was over a year ago now. So we we sat there, we talked, we sat around, Corey dressed in a robe, and we had beers. And then we said, hey, maybe we should do this every week. And then that's kind of how Tavern Talks developed. And then we got the crazy idea that we could bring guests on. And now we're,
355 episodes.
I don't know which one it is, but it's one of those episodes. And we've really had the opportunity to do some crazy talks with people. And Corey's my second. He's if I get a left and a right now, it's going to be Corey and Austin, because those two keep me from, first off, going nuts. Second off, they're the only two that can probably, stop me from just, because everybody always tells me I'm the cat that just lets all the secrets out. So I gotta be careful. But I think I've gotten better.
Yeah, we don't tell James any secrets that we don't want online.
We don't want online. That's right.
Fair.
You don't tell me anything you don't want online, because I will say it.
Well, this was very sweet. This was a nice ode to the trio of you. The trio of you.
The trio of us.
The trio. The trio of you.
So everybody will be reunited at Genghis in February. So if you've never been to a convention, specifically a tabletop role-playing convention, and you can make it out of Colorado, GenCon has a piece to my heart now, because it was my first convention in the TTB RPG world, and it was the opportunity that GUI Cube gave me to go. But there's nothing like a small convention where you can sit down with your friends, play games. You're not stressed to the max. It's not all about business. And then right afterwards, you go have a drink and you sit down and you bullshit about D&D once again. Like, it doesn't stop the entire weekend. And
it's GUI Cube's home convention. So.
And it's their home convention, yeah. So especially if you're part of the community, you definitely are going to feel that welcoming much more than you would at a bigger convention like GenCon.
Yeah, look, I love GenCon. I love how frenetic it is. I love the balance of the two. Yeah. So, but what Genghis Con that has is special. It's like the difference between. I don't want to say this. I don't want to get in trouble. But I was going to say it's like the difference, like shopping at a bigger, awesome store like Costco versus going to a local store, like in your. That's
like
owned
going to your
by
local
people.
game store compared to Target.
Yeah, exactly. And so don't get me wrong, I shop at Costco, and I also shop at my local grocery stores around here that are, and the difference is that one is just massive. You have things down every aisle that you can go do. You can go play a board game over here. You have a tremendous vendor hall. You will walk away with so much merch. It is unbelievable. There's still that community feel, like when you're in like the GUI Cube room, but you're also stretched over this giant convention center. So I did not get to talk to like a bunch of people that I had intended to stop and see, because I didn't see them all weekend.
I felt the same way. Like even the people that we were trying to connect with that have been on Tavern Talks. So we've had some big names on Tavern Talks. We've had Dice Cream Sandwich on Tavern Talks. We have Brian the Bearded Nerd on Tavern Talks. We have a couple other TikTokers that are big in D&D on Tavern Talks. And they all had shows that whole weekend at GenCon. And it was like trying to pull teeth, trying to get these guys time to just sit back and just talk. I got some opportunities, right after the show. I got the luxury to talk to Jason from Realmsmith again. And was introduced to more celebrity D&D connections through that, and then Phil from Last Game Board is our big advocate for Tabletop Misfits, and he is introducing me to more people. So we're hoping that these small connections will just continue to grow and grow, and we'll see where that heads. But right now, I mean, we're GUI from top to bottom right now on the Misfits. So that's kind of what we build from, and it doesn't stop just by us writing. We're streaming it, we're writing it, we're working the booths, and we're working the games. But it's just, this is where our home is right now, and this is where I will be staying for the near future. So
Nice.
So,
that's for sure.
Mandy,
Also,
you almost had
everyone-
a segue earlier.
Everyone just got to watch me like drink a sip of water and spill it all down the front of my shirt. So let's just call it beer. It wasn't water, it was beer, and what I just did was very edgy. So
Edgy, yeah.
Yeah.
He's still a little tipsy from GenCon.
Yeah,
he drank quite a bit. Over
Oh
the
my gosh,
weekend,
that
so,
witch's brew.
yeah.
There is a hilarious video
There
that
is.
Gail the Red post. If you go on the GUI Game Masters Den of Enlightenment, there is a hilarious video where I take my first sip of what is that stuff, that smoky stuff in drinks? What is that stuff
Normally
called?
it's just dry ice that they drop in.
Dry-
and it makes it
yeah,
that
so
it
it's one of
makes the
those-
foam.
It's one of those cool drinks, and like, oh my gosh, it went all wrong. Sorry. Anyways,
All wrong.
it was hilarious.
So they invited us out for this thing, but they invite us at the exact same time that we're playing games. So it's like, I just think they didn't want us to be in there. So
No, we love you.
it's not.
So sorry, what
But
were you saying, Corey? There was a segue.
I was going to say, you almost had a segue earlier, which is one of the questions we always ask our guests about their journey in TTRPG. And so you started with, GenCon 2019 and you didn't really even know about it. But tell us a little bit more about that journey, how it probably just started as, hey, this is a job I'm doing, to now actually playing games on your off time and enjoying it and having the same passion.
Oh, I'm happy to. Well, I always knew I'd love Dungeons and Dragons because like I was a huge Harry Potter, Twilight nerd. Like I was like fan fiction. I like total nerd. I just didn't have time. I just knew that if I got myself invested in it, I would lose a bunch of time. So I was like, and it is a time consuming activity for sure. However, like it came about in a good time in my life. I like had worked on this really fun nerdy thing. It was called Obnoxious Hats by Lady Woolthief. It's where it was like a little side business that I had where for like 3 years I made all these like weird fantasy top hats like with like teacups on them and all sorts of weirdness. And I was kind of ready, like I had so much fun doing it, but I was kind of ready to wrap up that phase in my life, and I was kind of looking for what is the new thing that I kind of want to explore. And so GUI Cubes comes along, and I remember the first time Kim mentioned GUI Cube at one of our marketing meetings. I think everybody knows the story that we're actually we are a marketing company, and I've worked with the marketing company my entire career. I started there when I was 21, and so it's been a decade of working with Kim and working with the marketing company. Yeah. So anyway,
so how does it? So kind of before we continue this, because otherwise my cat-like brain will drift off into a different world.
That's okay.
How does that feel different now that GUI Cube's involved?
I have no spare time. It's like having 2 jobs instead of having 1 job, but it kind of filled the void. I'm someone, I don't have kids. Me and my husband, we live what we call the dink life. And we are people who are, I wouldn't go as far as saying we're workaholics, but we like to keep busy. Yeah. And like I said, I was kind of wrapping up my other like side business thing, which had been a lot of fun, but I was getting kind of burned out on. And so it's nice to work as a team as like a side project. And Alphinius and I have a really great relationship. I mean, I know some people like we do snipe at each other quite a bit. But
I snipe at Corey all the time.
We're we've been working together for a decade, and he's my godfather, so I've known him my entire life. And
Right.
honestly, like, I
Who
learned
better to work for than families? I mean, if you can
Yeah.
work with family, it's definitely an amazing opportunity.
I couldn't do it.
The problem is, can you work with family? Like me personally, my parents own a restaurant, and there's no way in heck I would ever work
Uh-huh.
in the restaurant business. But now if my dad said, hey, you know what, we want to now start a D&D tavern, we might have a different conversation.
Right.
So Dad, if
I'd
you're
wait.
listening
I'd
to
wait
this, and
tables at
that's
your
what you
dad's
want to
tavern.
click,
Yeah.
I'll wait tables at Dad's tavern.
No, I mean,
I'll learn how to bartend at that point. Like, heck, this sounds like fun.
listen, okay, so like when we started and when I was 21, and I'm talking like we were a small marketing startup of like 5 of us. It was me,
Right.
Mike, Colt, and so those are Mike, Colt, and Kim are the 3 owners of GUI Cube.
Right.
Me, and then 1 graphic designer. So there was 5 of us.
Wow.
And there was never in my wildest dreams did I think that we would get to where we are with both the marketing agency and like even with GUI Cube, which we're still working on getting to the point of getting GUI Cube where it needs to be.
Yeah.
But getting to do D&D as your job is
awesome.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
I'm working on it slowly but
Yeah.
surely. It will happen.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I agree.
No, so I totally lucked in. Oh, I don't want to say I lucked in. There was a lot of years of hard work, and like building a marketing startup like was already very difficult. So I don't want to say we just lucked into where we are or anything like that. But in terms of like being able to work with Kim and having someone with such a creative imagination that we get to do a
Right.
project like GUI Cube, it's pretty awesome. So I feel very lucky. I feel very fortunate. So yeah, I don't know. Did I answer the question? I feel like I
Yeah.
went off a few
Well,
tangents.
I was
Yeah.
actually
Oh.
talking about your role play hobby
Playing
journey.
No, I got you. Okay, so
Yeah.
let me get there. Okay, so basically we're in a meeting and Kim mentions the term GUI Cube, and I'm like, what is that? And this is like a year before GUI Cube ever launched. And he goes, I don't even want you to think about this right now. I don't need to think about it. So I was like, okay, I won't think about
Of course, you immediately think about it because that was the ploy that he had.
Yeah, exactly. No. And so then we get like closer and closer and closer, and I start kind of getting snippets. Like you have to understand that my departments of the marketing business are very separate from everybody else's because I run the entire multimedia department by myself. So then I start like, okay, snippets. And then it's finally like, okay, this is what we're doing. And I was like, okay, this is a lot, but this sounds awesome. So I kind of want to learn how to talk about this and what it is. And because like I was like proofreading it. At one point he needed a proofreader for it. I was proofreading the first chapter and it was like, what is this GM's block here? What are stats? Like, is this correct? I can't proofread this because I don't understand what this is, or what is this word here? And so I was like, I knew a few people who had played, including some of my very close friends. I asked her to GM, and I just got a group together of people who were interested in playing, including my dad, who had played with Kim for years. And that's kind of how I started on the role-playing journey. And GUI Cube was a really great introduction into the world. And then I started playing with more groups. And I will say it's good to have, not to be so insulated in one group. It's good to have a few different groups so that way you can see different play styles. Like you may think that one play style is your most favorite play style ever, and then play with another group and say, oh, I actually really like this more like sandbox world, or I like this more railroad world, or you kind of learn your taste as you're experiencing it. And it was a great timing in terms of the pandemic.
Right.
If there's ever a time to start playing D&D, it's right before a global pandemic.
Right. I mean, that's kind of, I can't say anything because that's kind of how the whole professional gaming came up. Is I was like, you know what, on my personal table shut down.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, we can't play anymore. And they're like, well, how are we gonna play? We'll play online. Then I realized that was really a thing. And then once I realized that was a thing, I was like, well, can I make money off of this? And then of course that's where that started. So yeah.
And I want to give like Casey so much credit for putting together Roll20, because those Roll20 modules were so helpful when we were playing remote games. And I mean, I was really excited to get back to the table. I think there's different dynamics
There
whether you're
is.
playing, but I mean, not to say that you can't have a great online game. I think you absolutely can. But I also love in-person games. But those Roll20, like being able to play GUI Cube and Roll20, made it so much more immersive and interesting
Right.
than just trying to do theater of the mind. So yeah, and so here we are today. And actually, like GUI Cube is currently my only campaign because I just don't have any time. So
Don't
we're
blame you.
we're currently playing through Dreadmist Curse, and so I don't know the end of it, and I'm super interested to find out. Yeah, there you have it.
I don't know the end of it either, and I'm trying not to have any spoilers.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we just
So
won't talk about
going
that.
back to what you said earlier about having all of the books and the stuff and the things you want to add into your adventure. So I've made the personal decision after chapter 3 that I'm going to wait for chapter 7 and start running the whole thing over again. Because I want to add all of that GUI Cube world Xyth flavor around it. And also, and I know that I think might be the one thing that that Kim and I disagree about writing modules. I want to know, as the game master, I want to know the end before I start running it.
I think
As
that's
far
fair.
as reading and letting things be unfold, yes, it's a great read.
Right.
But I'm not designing a read for my players. I'm designing an experience for my players, and I need to know where that experience ends. So I've made the personal decision to wait till chapter 7 is out before I run any more of it.
So be clarify on this. So 7 is the last chapter?
That's what I've heard.
That is
Because
the
I heard
current
6
plan.
for a while, and then I heard 7.
It was
and then I've
between
heard
7 and
9.
9. It was between 7 and 9 chapters, and I'm pretty positive it's going to be 7. Actually, I'm very positive it's going to be 7, because if it's going to be 8 and 9, I might just walk out the door. No, just kidding.
He's like, and I'm done. That's it. That's all I'm doing.
No, I honestly, Corey, I think that's a very like reasonable thing. Again, like it's just different storytelling.
Right.
I think it'd at least be nice to have like a general outline of where it's going, because we like as writers of GUI Cube, we might have a roadmap, and that roadmap might change depending on where we.
Right.
So there is something to be said though about maybe having a little bit of information up front. Like this is like the general idea of where we're going. So you, I mean, would something like that be interesting to you, even if it wasn't all the details?
Well, but the good thing is knowing how much work I put into just chapter 1, where I built an entire, 3 6-foot table put together version of the carnival. I got plenty of time to prepare, and you guys got plenty of time to finish chapter 7 before I would be ready to run it. So yeah, it's not a big thing. And I don't mind waiting to run it all, because it's one of those things that it's such a good campaign.
It is.
That
and there's
hope to run it multiple times for multiple groups.
There's so many parts to it too. It's not just like a campaign where you can just drive forward through. It's
right.
Especially if you can really, if your group is a group that just wants to, very Diablo-like, kill the monster, get the loot, move to the next step.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the full experience of a GUI Cube module. And the reason I say that is because the way that the GUI Cube module is built is to build the connections between your characters and the characters around you. So if you're not taking that time to role play and learn about the Hanatas and learn about each of those characters individually, and it's crazy because they've even taken that time out of the game master having to do it, to have little tidbits that each of those Hanatas characters know. So I don't have to do that myself anymore, which is fantastic, because I run 4 games a week sometimes, and it's exhausting in 3 different worlds right now. And I'm hoping sooner or later I can move them all to one world, and my brain doesn't have to skip places every once in a while.
Right.
Because it wouldn't be the first time I'll start talking about an NPC and go, oh wait, wrong campaign, reverse, and go back to the next one. But stuff like knowing how Borag would react, knowing how Mother Sylvenza would react, things like that, where your main characters, your main NPCs, you have that deep a deep role play. And that is where I love to see people starting to get enveloped and they start to get invested with those characters, because then if something happens, it's different. It feels different. It's not just something happens. There's actually a connection now. If you haven't cried in a campaign, you haven't truly experienced D&D. Okay, that's our tech guy. And he's
Who is it?
absolutely
I
right.
was like, who's writing these? Because I
It's
see
our
the
tech.
new comments.
No, so that's Eric. Eric
Hi,
does
Eric.
Eric does all of our tech.
Is this
and
Eric?
he's
Eric Parker?
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, I got to meet. Sorry, getting back to GenCon, I got to meet Eric at GenCon, and
Yeah.
it was delightful. So
He was. He is one of my oldest friends in the military, and we are, I've been running with Eric now through 4 different campaigns that I've written, and him and I have been through some. I've put his characters through some ringers. I'll just go with that.
Apparently making him cry. Apparently, yeah.
I have made him cry once.
I like Brina Luna Lives. Just made my player sob with me a few weeks ago.
Yeah, no.
I love when you're so proud. You're like, I made them sob.
So let's give a round of applause to Brina. It's her first Gen Con this year. She came out. She only was able to make it on Saturday, but she wants to come out again more next year. And not to mention, I know she's going to yell at me for this later on, but this is our artist that does all of our plots in Darkenhaven, and she is an absolute gem to have working with us. She's fantastic. Not only is she an amazing artist, but she's fast. Like, we can give her ideas on like Monday, and by Wednesday, she's already got me line work trying to figure out everything. And I'm like, Jesus, it's too quick. I don't know what's going on.
No, it's not too quick. No, because we've got people who don't give her the stuff in time, and she's still turned it around.
And she still turned
had it
around
before the
because she's
episode. So
amazing.
thank you so much for helping us with all that.
But no, she is a new. So if you mean for GUI Cube, I believe they're planning us some Destiny Adventure next, and that's
Oh yeah, because there was a question from Eric earlier about what comes after the Red Star Rising campaign.
Yeah.
Okay, I can speak a little bit on this.
Sure, go for it.
Okay.
I have the insight.
Although I do want to say to Brina
well.
that I absolutely love your art, Brina, and I've been super impressed with what you've done with our races, doing different interpretations of them, and the characters are awesome. I love what you have done. So yay, Brina. So so after the Red Star Rising, I know we want to get back to Gen Con too, so I'll make this really quick. We want to turn out more of those like side adventures like Menace and Witch's Wrath and Strangely Gooey Holiday, Shadows and GenCon. Those side adventures I think are the way that we do side adventures is they're like a half-inch thick.
Right. With a bunch of handouts.
Played over several sessions.
3 to 4 week adventures. They're not, you can run a GUI Cube module for probably 3 to 4 months if you really want to dig into the module itself. But the side adventures will last you about a month. Yeah,
depending on how long your sessions are. But Jim is right that we are starting to look into Syndesia. I know this will be coming up in our next Kickstarter, which is an absolutely amazing continent, and I can't wait to see more of it. And I think that we're planning on keeping our campaigns a little bit shorter, like 3 chapters or so, until Phineas gets inspired and they end up also being 7 chapters. We'll see. So
right. I can see it.
But we love everything that comes with GUI, because there's not only do we have the modules and the adventures and everything that we have going on, we also have all these world guides. We have all the cyclos, and Cyclopedia Magica is almost done. Did I say Magica? Yeah, Cyclopedia Magica. We have Monstrica coming up. We have to do these amazing books on all the continents. And
can we talk about this real quick? Like, Monstrica to me is the most amazing book coming out so far, and that's because every single monster has artwork. Like, 200 plus artworks that are going to be on in the monster book is crazy. No 24-hour sessions, no 8-hour sessions. No, that's too exhausting on the GM. Trust me.
So
you and Corey can just switch off.
So here's a little story about. Oh, look, I'm wearing the shirts though. Here, I can see if it. So this group of folks I've run many weekends for. for running D&D retreat weekends. And every time they give me a shirt. And I run the weekend. So I made the mistake of running chapter 1 over a weekend. It was doable. We got through it. But by the end, first of all, everything I said sounded like Borag because I've been talking for 72 hours. They were very long days. It was like 12 to 14 hours of role play every day for 3.5 days. And they loved it. But I will say this, do not try to run it all at once. I may still do epic weekends, but I'm probably going to do like Murder and Motley and the Duansara Sea adventure and call that my weekend adventure instead of trying to run a whole box set. So,
and we've seen the box.
Take your time with them. They're good.
Taking the time. I think the biggest thing would be is making sure that if we did run the entire box set in a weekend, that you took time in between to let breaks happen. So, run a 4-hour session and then let somebody just relax for 6 to 8 hours and then come back in the evening and run another 4-hour session. And that way everybody's getting that break. Because I know as a GM, it's hard. And then I can make sure, depending on where we stopped, I know what the next step is. And there are things that if I had to, I guess I could pull in and out of the story in order to make sure that it hit that point at the end of the weekend. But I do agree, it's definitely going to be a lot more rushed because you're going to have to pretty much go through one part every day. So you have 8 hours to get through one part, which you could probably do it, but it's going to be uncomfortable in the area.
And you're going to miss all the cool little exploratory stuff
exactly.
that comes in the box set. So I don't recommend it. I've done it 3 times now, and I think I'm done trying to do that. And the only reason I did it 3 times is because people signed up for it 3 times, and then I had to take it down and say, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. But yeah, okay. But I was going to get us back on track here.
It's a good segue back to GenCon. Yeah, let's hear about the GenCon.
Back to GenCon. All right. So, do you have any insight on how GenCon took everything we did?
Oh yeah, we did phenomenally in terms of like audience reception. All of our events, our games were very well received. We weren't surprised by that because of last year, 2021, when our GMs completely rocked it.
That was because Corey was there. That's the only reason.
So we already knew that our games were going to be a hit with the audiences because we have great GMs and we have, I feel that our games are more immersive than well, I'm not going to say that. I don't want to down anybody. So I feel like I feel like we run very immersive games. How about that? I'll just put it that way. So and there's a lot of, just to be very clear, there are a lot of great games all over GenCon. You can't even imagine how large this convention center is until you're there. But from front to back, they are running games. There's even a stadium, like a basketball stadium, and they filled that area.
The Colt Stadium.
Yeah, and they filled that area with tables, and people are just there playing games in this huge area. And I mean, the whole building is like 3 times that size, and there's games everywhere. So
I didn't even know there were areas, like I was told this afterwards, like there were areas of GenCon I didn't even go to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have to actually look at your schedule a lot, because if you're in the stadium and then you're at Marriott, you got to have
2 or 3 of the hotels have stuff going on in them. I'm just like, how? I didn't even get through the entire vendor hall this year.
Let me just say, people know this about me. I'm a huge Disney person, and they say you don't even expect to do Disney World in like your first trip or your second trip or your third trip.
Yeah.
Don't expect to do all of GenCon in like 20 trips. Is
right. Well, because they're going to change every year too. But that's
there's just you can't do it all. It's crazy big, and bring really good walking shoes, because I mean, you're seriously zigzagging back and forth, and like there's hidden hallways you don't even know are there with games running. So anyway, so I don't want to I want to say that our games I feel are really good, and not compared to anything, they're just good. So so our games were well received. Oh, night, Brina. So and then on top of that, our game show was incredibly well received. And this is our this is our first time ever running the game show. And actually,
this is the first time we ran it at GenCon.
Sorry, at GenCon. Thank you. At GenCon. Yeah, I've run it before, but I actually have a funny story about that. Because we had brought out, like, me and Adam's my husband, we had driven out all of our streaming equipment to GenCon. So I had 5 cameras. I had huge bags full of cords. And these are like heavy bags. We had 2 huge computer screens. Like, we brought out the gamut to run this thing at GenCon.
Right. And they were going to make me and Austin put the whole thing together at 5:30 in the morning.
I was going to have you help. So there's a difference. I was going to be there with you.
I get it.
You know, anyway. So the day before, though, I go and talk to JC, who is the live entertainment coordinator at GenCon. And I was like, oh, yeah, we have our streaming equipment. And he goes, oh, we actually have a professional streaming company that we've already paid that's going to be running the stream for your show. And you'll have to actually just re-stream it off of your computer. And I was like, okay. Let me adjust for a second. I'm like, I'm just thinking about the 16 hours that Adam and I had just driven when we could have just flown out.
You're like, oh.
And the night before we left, we were up super late testing all the streaming equipment and making sure it was all functional. Adam was like, had replaced our streaming kit. Anyway, I know, Casey, it's not your fault. It's not Casey's fault. Casey had mentioned this to me before. And I had mentioned it to Kim, and Kim was like, oh, I got this handled. And you know, okay.
Have I heard that before?
It was this was definitely an error on our side. It's fine. It is what it is. Because then once we got in the room and I saw the streaming equipment, and their streaming equipment blew my stuff out of the water, I'm just like, okay, you know what I love about this? I don't have to run the stream. I can actually try and enjoy it a little bit. And so basically, they did a great job streaming it. Our restream of it was not great, given the fact that we were restreaming it off of hotel Wi-Fi. But it was fine. We had a great time. We had a great event. The live audience absolutely loved it. Yeah, it was awesome. I don't even know what to say. We gave out, just on the stream of it, we gave out 40 individual prizes, or 40 prizes to individuals. And some of those people, there was one person who won 4 times. So, was
that you, Corey? Were you the one that won?
No, Corey only won once.
Only won once.
Sorry, Corey.
That's all right.
That's all right. I didn't win at all. It's okay.
You won because you got to sit next to Luke Gygax.
Yeah,
that's right. I didn't win that big. So I have another story about the game show to tell. So I remember being in the old HQ, Mandy and I sitting in the conference room, and we're kind of mapping out furiously how this show is going to go. And then we're trying to get the people to come on stream and be captains, like James was one of our captains. And we get this whole thing outlined, and we do it for the first time on a stream. And Alphinius just changes the rules on the fly, starts doing things, and all the captains are going nuts on Twitter or on the Discord channel. And it was nice for me as in the inception of this game show and helping to see how it has come along, to see that at GenCon, Kim still broke the rules. It was great.
I know. Listen, okay, so I have some things to say about this. First off, Corey, I can't tell you how fond those memories are for me of us working with Kim and coming up with the rules and coming up with dungeon points. And what do dungeon points mean? How do they affect the game? Corey was very instrumental in helping us develop the actual rules and flow of the game.
Now, mind you, Corey is a professional,
yes,
board game builder. So he's good at this stuff.
This is literally back, you have to imagine, we ran our first one in the middle of the pandemic. So the first time Corey and I met each other, we had masks on, we were 6 feet away from each other at minimum, and trying to figure out, and Kim had just been let's order a wheel. Like, I just want a big wheel. And I'm like, what are we gonna do with this big wheel? But like Kismia's wheel is seriously like the most popular part of the entire game.
Yeah.
So okay, so that's what so I will say, like, those are some of Corey, those are some of my absolute fondest memories. Here's the problem is that Kim forgets the rules first off. So it's not that he's intentionally breaking them, because our first roll, he had the first, and I was doing the Twitch stream, like doing all the Twitch stream stuff. And so I was trying to listen to what was happening, but I was also like focused on trying to get the Twitch stuff, giveaways going and everything like that. And I found out later that he had made the first team bid 100 gold to bet on Kismia's wheel. And I was like, what?
That's exactly that was the example I was gonna mention.
Corey, you should have texted me and been like, this is not correct. And then he's like, I guess it's 20, but it was actually 10. But like, again, so this is one of I literally have a to-do list of like things I need to fix for Gen Con, and one of them is to actually have the rules written down in a cheat sheet on a GM screen for Kim,
so he can.
So that way
it.
he can,
So can we give a shout out though to Dwarven Forge for so mind you, Corey, I'm sorry you weren't there to see this. This was magical. They didn't have it built. Nate from Dwarven Forge came in with Kim and a couple other people, and they said, "You know what? We're going to build this." Like, no idea what it was gonna look like at 7 o'clock that morning, 6 o'clock that morning. And you watch Nate, the creative director for Dwarven Forge, just it's like, I need a 2-1 here, I need a 1-1 here, I need a 4-4 here, I need a wall here. I was like, and I just stood back. I was like, not getting involved with this man. This guy's got way more experience than I do. So it was just amazing to watch him piece this thing together with the little pieces that Dwarven Forge comes with, and it just built.
The build looked amazing. And
it looked amazing.
Yeah. So this is okay. So one of the perks for how well we did this year is that next year I think we're going to get to pre-set up the night before.
Well, there we go.
Good.
Yeah,
that'll help.
But
I also think it will hopefully, if everybody keeps preaching to Gen Con, hopefully we can get a 3-hour block instead of a 2-hour block. Be great.
I mean, yeah, based on the reception, because like the reason we had done a 2-hour block was because at Genghis Con it seemed to lose its steam at 2 hours. I mean, we still had a lot of people interested in playing, so we thought, okay, we'll shorten this down to 2 hours. But based on the Gen Con crowd, I really think that we could make it 3 hours.
Dude, that hour went like that. We went through I got 2 rooms in before they were like, hey, get off the stage.
Yeah,
I was like,
no, I definitely think that that's something to keep in mind, and we'll work on that. But sorry, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so that's part of the reception was that first off, the production people who we were working with, and I need to get their actual like name of their company. They really enjoyed what we did.
They came by the booth when Mike, I don't know if you were there, but when Mike and I were there, and told us that that's how every single production should be shown at Gen Con, in that room, because they could see the liveliness, they could see the excitement, they could see that everybody's having a good time. He informed us that some of those shows were not getting nearly the entertainment value and the excitement value that they should be getting for a room like that. And not saying anything wrong to those players, it's just, it's one thing to do a live stream with people playing D&D, like, unless you're a big name like Critical Role, Dimension 20, those types of things. And even if you are, though, that's not what that type of entertainment value is for. If you're going to be in a streaming room, you want to be in a streaming room that's going to get excitement and blow up the,
and you want to have a role. Having the little paddles where they get to vote, and I mean,
is great because it makes the entire audience active, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Instead of just
truthfully, I'm trying to figure out how the heck I do that on stream every weekend, like for us, because I think that would be more fun to watch than me just telling a story.
I don't know. I don't want to, as a GM plus in Darkenhaven, I don't want to be like trying to be Kim taking votes on the fly.
I think
no.
There is a place for every kind of streaming that we have. And that's something that I think is really important to keep in mind, is that we don't stream games at Gooey Cube.
Right.
except for the Great Gooey Dungeon game show. And we do that at remote locations at the 2 conventions, Genghis Con and Gen Con. And then if we do it online, we have the Discord set up and we have the whole production in the Discord for the 4 teams to interact in the Discord. Then that's an in-studio setup. And so there is 100% a very important place for streams where it's just storytelling and where the audience can just listen. And it's kind of like, it's almost like a podcast in a way, you know, with dice
we
rolls.
thought about that as well. We thought about turning into a podcast as well. So
so there's 100% all sorts of different kinds of streaming that you can do. I love that the Great Gooey Dungeon game show works in both online format and a in-person format. So I think there's merits to both. And
not to mention, I mean, we give away like 60, 70 gifts, you know, you can't really complain if you're getting something.
No, we gave away crap tons of stuff. And so anyway, that was, so to me, that was definitely a highlight. I loved being Team Twitch, although I think that might be the only time I'm allowed to do that because I kind of need to be on top of Alphidius a little bit more, making sure he's not doing things like making people bid 100 gold to bet. Oh my gosh, I still can't believe that. But
the GM makes the rules, right?
That's right.
I need to update. I'm working on an updated video where like the last thing I say in the rules video is, and all this may change on a moment's notice depending on Alphinius's whim.
Depending on the wizard's thought process that morning. So I'm curious, and this is something that I don't know, you can even answer from last year, outside of Gooey Cube, because I mean we're talking about Gen Con here. I mean, we're huge. We made a great impact there, but outside of Gooey Cube, what were some amazing experiences that you were able to catch? Like I know a lot of you're working a lot of it. I understand that, but I'm curious what your.
Let me just grab. Hold on.
Sure.
Ooh.
Oh, I know one of them. I saw this earlier. Look at that hat.
It's kind of, So
it's catching the.
I don't know how to get it,
but it's okay. It's not your fault. It's the green screen's fault. But
sorry, all the rest of my experiences were in the vendor hall spending money, and so.
I mean, that's. I mean, mind you. No, I'm on a Facebook group called Fans of Gen Con. Some of these hauls these people come home with, it's like 10 grand worth of board games. I'm like, this is insane. How do you get it home? And then I remember what Corey got home last year, and I was like, oh, maybe that's how you got it home, because Corey had quite a few things on his own. But
I had the carnival packed in to take to Gen Con, and then I was like, how do I fit all this stuff in there with the carnival coming home? And I still made room for Michael Crawford and drove him to Kansas on the way home. So we and all of his stuff fit too. So it was packed. It was packed in my Highlander for sure.
So oh my goodness, like let's talk about that. The amount of just random stuff you were given at Gen Con this year was incredible. Not only was it just like things that I was given from our GUI friends, I was blown away by. Michael Crawford made me a screen that has Tabletop Misfits and I can change the color in it. And I ran it my entire weekend. Like he gave me the little battery for it. And I used it every game. And I would change the colors. Like I'd turn it red if for some they were in combat or something like that. Just be goofy. And then Mark last year made me this, my blue GUI cube instead of a green one. And then this year he put now my son I think has it at the moment, but he made me a holder that has the Misfits logo on it. And it's like things like that where people were thinking about it before we get to Gen Con, and like they've prepared to give these things away. And to me, that's where I start to think like, this is the family I work with. This is the family I work with every single week, every single day. I know I bug Corey probably 6 times a day sometimes when we're prepping for plots in Darkenhaven. But I also know that if I need to talk to somebody, I can call Corey. If I need to talk to somebody, I can call Matt, and I can talk all the rest of the Tabletop Misfits very easy. Thank you very much for the follow. Sorry, I try to catch those because I really do think like
that's Adam.
those are big. Hey, I'll take it.
No, definitely take it. He doesn't follow just
Yeah.
about.
We're
doesn't follow
nine.
everyone.
We're
He's
nine
very-
away.
It might be the guest
from-
we brought on this week. We brought on a pretty
Yeah,
influential guest this week.
Pretty influential guest there.
Wait, who?
Oh yeah. Also, it was a good. That was a good fun time. We got to completely embarrass Mandy during the party. That was awesome. She turned.
I
all
was
sorts of
completely.
red.
It was very
She
sweet.
turned all sorts of red. It was great. We had because you're right, and nothing really gets done in GUI Cube without Camera Mandy, like because she controls everything.
Oh, I don't.
but-
Trust me.
Well, you have
Try.
the strings that aren't fully attached that can be pulled.
Yeah.
When he says you control everything, it's because you don't know where the car's going, but you're the one driving. Is I think what he's
Ah.
trying to say.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
the one
I-
behind the wheel.
Yeah.
I do
You're
want to
on
make
the
sure
wheel, but
everyone
Kim
knows
is-
that Alphinius. I mean, I think everyone does know this. Alphinius puts in so many hours and he
Yes.
works
Oh
so
my
hard.
goodness.
He's so oriented on the
The
actual
man's
content.
3 times older than I am, and he puts in
Yeah.
more hours of work than I know anybody.
Yeah, community building content and kind of just making connections. And then I just do obviously the videos and then a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And I even have someone incredible. Her name's Mel, who does all the customer service emails. And so we're a team. Like, I mean, there's no if, ands, or buts about
Yeah.
it. No one person could do that. And I mean, on top of that, like on that note, like the contributors that we have for GUI Cube help make the world so much better because what
Agreed,
you can
yeah.
create with the minds of many is to me significantly more, even with like how creative Alphinius is and how his mind works, which just always astonishes me. He can't think of everything. And so really GUI Cube is a team effort. So but
Yeah,
I do
no,
really
100%.
appreciate I appreciated they gave me a standing ovation and like
You did.
I did almost pass out. So I was like,
I'm telling you, I
Yeah.
started turn 12 shades of red.
Yeah.
Like difference.
it was very
It's
it
great.
was very sweet and I dearly appreciate it. And I got my little GUI Cube necklace which I'm wearing today, which was super sweet and
Much deserved.
yeah. That was one of my highlights for sure of the weekend.
Yeah.
But
I got to see a lot of our friends, a lot of people that worked really hard this year get their necklaces this year, which was awesome. I mean, I remember last year when I got mine, I cried. Actually, no,
Aw.
let me rephrase that. I did cry.
Yeah,
I
you
was
did.
bawling
Yeah,
my
I wasn't going
eyes
to say
out.
it, but I'm glad you admitted to it.
No, Corey's going to call me out on it. No. So
And it wasn't
year
because of the
was-
hot mustard at
It was not. Which we did go to the Rathskeller on
Rathskeller,
Saturday
that's
night, and we got some food, and then we went, gallivanting around northern Indianapolis again, as tradition. There was nobody in a robe this year, but that was sad. But
hey,
next year,
I was the best looking guy in a robe in that club.
you were the best guy looking in a robe in that club. You're right. But
This
no,
was not a group
we,
of gamers, by the way. This was some I don't even know. It was
I don't know
just
what club we
locals
were
in
at.
Indianapolis out
Yeah.
for their Saturday night, and I'm
we went
showing up
we
in a
went
robe.
to some live band right after we got done with the Rathskeller and started gallivanting and beer hopping, and that was kind of where that ended. Is Corey was the only one walking around in a robe, but he looked very good in his robe from everybody else. So
Fabulous.
yeah,
Fabulous.
it was
So,
a fabulous robe.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the amount of work that it takes to, because I guess that's the one thing I do have to kind of put the caveat. If you're going to go to GenCon and you're going as a player or you're going as a customer or you're just going, find things that you really are interested in and doing and just go do them. There's no reason to just walk around the vendor hall all day long and spend tons and tons of money unless that's what you want to do. There's so many games going on, so many events going on. I think we put on, we had 7 GMs 3 times a day that were running GUI Cube modules. The playtest for Witch's Wrath was twice that weekend, 7 GMs each, and it was incredible to get the feedback from all that. But if you're running it, it's exhausting. Like Like at the end, I swear Sunday I got like we got back to Austin's, and I probably Monday morning I woke up and I was up for like 3 hours, and I passed out for like another two, and then I was up, and then another 3 hours, and I passed out for another. I was like, it was just off and on until like dinner time, and I was like, I'm done, I'm cooked.
It's
Uh,
something to plan for if you go to Gen Con and have never been before, is to take a day off after you get back, or take a slow day, but don't plan on going to work the next day. It's a
Yeah.
lot of walking,
Mhm.
it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of like social interaction. Your brain will probably be a little fried. Um, so just plan a decompressed day to kind of
Yeah,
just take a breath before, um, moving on to the next thing. So I
right.
I have to on your note about like doing things next year. We saw when we were walking down the hall that there was a bridge simulator, like the bridge from like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't get to
Yes.
do it this year. We were trying to, we didn't get a chance to.
I want to know, yeah, I need to look into this because I want to understand how you get to go do that thing. But that is 100% on our list for things to do next
Yeah.
year.
I want to do.
So I was just going to give some tips here. If you want to get into the things that you want to get into, start looking in January, get registered for the event in January. And then when they release those events, sometimes it's May, sometimes it's June, have a list in Gen Con's website of your top things you want to do.
Mhm.
And then it will email you once that list runs. And you will have to, you cannot just say, I want to do Bridge Simulator Friday at 2, because you won't get into Friday at 2. You'll have to say, I want to do Bridge Simulator Friday at 2, Friday at 3, Friday at 4, Friday at 5, and all of the options for that block of time you have available, and you might get into
Agreed.
one.
Yeah, you might
And
get
that's
into one.
and if you're trying to get into GUI Cube stuff, it works the same way, because we were sold out right after they opened up, within like 2 days of opening up.
Within 2 days, we were sold out of about
Yeah.
75 to 80% of GUI stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is going to happen is the way that the promotion and the way that the influence from this year has happened, that means next year it's going to be faster.
Yeah.
So you have to be ready and on your ball. If there's something you really want to do and you don't have the inside connection, or you don't have the ability to just plan it last minute, and you're okay with missing it, that's one thing. But if you're not okay with missing it, plan that sucker really early in the game, because that's definitely, you want to run that your wish list early.
These are good
and that's for
tips.
both players and people running it, because then you can plan around that. Because like I ran 4 modules this weekend, or that weekend, so I had time off. Now I was also running around doing other things that we had to get done, but for the most part, I had certain times off, and I had the opportunity to run that. If I would have planned that out a little earlier, it would have been different. Because then I would have made sure that those modules I was running were set in those time frames as well.
And that would be the only thing that I would say. And I think I wasn't at Gen Con this year, but I know the previous year, Casey did a good job of letting people know when you're going to be running games before you have to get your wish list in. So continue doing that, whoever's scheduling our GMs for GUI games, is so that everybody who's running games knows when they're going to be running games before Gen Con opens up the wish list part.
Can we talk about Casey for a second?
Yeah,
absolutely. We can talk about
Okay.
Casey
We
all
can
the
poke
time.
him.
I'm just going to chat a little bit about Casey. So first off, the reason why Casey knows is because Casey has the most beautiful spreadsheet I've ever seen in my entire life. So Casey's
I get
spreadsheet
along
is,
with N7 real well.
oh my gosh,
And
the
his
thing
damn
of legends.
spreadsheets.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful spreadsheet. Everything listed out. I love the way he formatted the spreadsheet, very easy to read. On the spreadsheet, he has to-do lists for everyone. And so all I have to do is go to the section that says Mandy or GUI Cube and just look at my little section, and I know exactly what I
Right.
need to do. I appreciate Casey's organization. This does not happen without Casey and without Mark this year, and without our GMs. I did not know, this was the first year I was involved in any way, shape, or form with the convention games. And my mind is blown with how much work people have put in to making these convention games work, and how they've come. Like, I know that Corey came up with the Carnival games, for instance, and I'm like, the fact that someone took their time to think of a game centered around Carnival, like, that just is amazing to me. And anyway, like, I just want to say thank you. There's like planning meetings, organization meetings, there's like small meetings, there's big meetings. I mean, oh my goodness, like, I just cannot believe how much work everyone has put into this. And my portion of the work was like basically just trying to get our character sheets, with working with Mark, trying to get our character sheets so that way things weren't broken on them, so that way people could actually use them to play their characters. There was that, and like,
Corey, there was no full level barbarians this year. It was great. If you were here 2 years ago, that we had a snafu with the character sheets, and everybody was a barbarian.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So I mean, we did like 7 rounds of like revision on these character sheets, and I know we have a final round of revisions after Gen Con, after like playing with the materials. Also it was like things like just getting the con kits together, like getting everything printed for the con kits.
Which is awesome though, because I think really we've hit the stride now where there's not a lot of extra stuff that needs to be done for the next con.
Well, you say that, but we're gonna probably have like 2 more adventures out,
which is fine.
Yeah, so we'll just keep adding more and more games.
But as long as the nice thing is, as long as the pre-gens are structured the same way, because that's the one thing I really do like that GUI Cube does for the conventions, is that no matter if I pick up a level 1, 2, or 3, the pre-gens are the exact same character. So I know for a fact that I can, for the most part, depend on what I'm looking at.
Right.
Especially as a GM, because especially if we've got certain characters are written in a little differently, or their backstories, that kind of thing. You can play around with them. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Gen Con this year. I got to do we got to play with Last Game Board, which was really cool. I'm hoping we can do a GUI Game Board collaboration next year for Gen Con, because I think it'd be awesome. That'll be probably something I'll work on personally, just because I'll have the game board here myself and I'll be able to play around with it more. But if you've never heard of Game Board, go check them out. They're a display screen that seriously connects a virtual tabletop simulator to minis, which they have their own pucks, so that each puck is assembled differently, so that they can track each separately, and you can run a 3D on a display, and it shows line of sight and walls and all that crazy stuff, and it just makes it super clean. And on top of that, you can play like 40 other board games, which I'm super excited about that part too, because I really do like board games. We're really, I don't know, this year is going to be crazy. I think that we've figured out the stride, and now this coming year is just going to explode. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I feel like we're pretty ready for I hope that we get an even bigger room, run even more games. Casey probably agrees, but probably hates it too. At the same time, more organization, more. But I mean, I just want to say, like, while I'm here, thank you so much for all of the work that you put in over the years. Because I mean, this didn't happen overnight. This is like 3 years of like games coming together, trying to figure. I mean, it just blows my mind. I haven't
been around 3 years yet. I mean, this is all Casey and Mark.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. Corey, like, even just coming up with the Carnival set and then coming up with games, because Corey wasn't at Gen Con, but we were still running the games that he made, for an audience with a 3D printed Carnival set.
Right. Yeah. We need trees for that, Corey.
So I just want to say, like, I mean, it's seriously like seeing I haven't even seen it all, like, but seeing what I have seen, my mind is absolutely blown by the amount of work people put in on their off hours to make all this stuff happen. And like, even Austin painting the printing and painting that Carnival set. So we have 2 Carnival sets now that we can run games off of.
Austin, Matt, Whitney, all of them put that. And it was cool though, because D&D to me is so amazing because it's a collaborative effort no matter where you are in the spectrum. It's if you're playing your game at home, it's collaborative because it's your GM and your players. If you're organizing stuff, it's everybody that you're working with. The Carnival even was a collaborative effort because half of the Carnival went to Matt and Whitney down in Texas. The other half was at Austin up in Indianapolis. And Matt and Whitney did paint nights at their local game store to help paint all the wagons these beautiful colors. Corey, you're gonna be blown away when you see some of the wagon tops. Like
Did
they
take
got some
pictures?
master
I did not get
artists.
pictures. Did they take
I
pictures?
didn't. I don't think I got any pictures other than like one or two.
I'm gonna have to call. I'm
Um,
gonna have to contact Matt Witten.
I'm
Austin.
sure everybody else
Yeah.
has pictures. There's pictures. I actually think there's pictures probably on GenCon's website if we're lucky. But I really do think that that's the cool thing about D&D is that it's always collaborative. It doesn't matter how small or big you are in the world of D&D, it's always collaborative. So many people stopping by the room just had to get pictures. Yeah, exactly. Everybody was getting pictures of the Carnival. The Carnival was 0 wheels this year though, so wheels will.
I noticed
gone
that.
next year.
I was like, I know I sent wheels with Austin.
Yeah,
when he
so
was
the
here for
problem was the
Genghis
wheels were
Con.
having a hard time gluing the wheels because of the way the Carnival's built. So we had to get a bunch of toothpicks so we can put the wheels on, and we'll figure that out for next year. That's Carnival 2.0.5. Leave it alone. This is the weird part. This is the one part that really like it connects to me more than anything of this whole situation. Is Tabletop Misfits doesn't go on the fly without the team. It's not just me. It's me, it's Eric, it's Matt, it's the entire crew, it's Corey sitting there in the background writing all these amazing stories for Plots in Darkenhaven. It's Austin helping me with connections to get the next guest on the board. It's no different. The only difference is that we're doing this because it's a passion. We're not doing this because we're getting paid, but we're doing this because it's a passion. And I think that happens from the smallest group. Like I said, the smallest is just your normal group players to these large organizations now that are doing this in a professional sense. But without it being collaborative, it's not working. Now, Kim has done something incredible by building an entire world that's collaborative. And I think that's what makes this so amazing in general, because so many of us have added to that world.
And made it speaking of which, if you are a contributor and you come on the show, I try to put your stuff into the show by finding where you contributed and adding it into the show. So, for example, this Sunday, Carrie and Alex are joining us for the
6.
Yeah,
6. We're halfway through the series.
Yeah,
we're halfway through this.
I have to get excited.
So Carrie and Alex are coming on, and they're hopefully going to be surprised by seeing some of their own creations in Sunday's episode. So, we love having contributors come on. We love kind of showing off their stuff, and we hope that Plots in Darkenhaven is living up to the box set that you will soon get at some point, and I hope you have a strong back because this thing is going to be huge.
Yeah,
it is. And once the Misfits get a hold of it, we're hoping for Plots in Darkenhaven season 2, and we're really looking to see what people have thought about this first season and see what we can do to make it bigger and better for next season. And that kind of segues us into something real fast, because I didn't know that this was never actually published out there. So we do have a Patreon out there. It's a small fee. It's $3 a month. And it's a thank you on our reels. It gives the maps that we created Incarnate over to, we give them to all of our patrons. And we're also looking at opening up after party chats with the guests and people on Discord on Wednesday nights, and having the moments when we do the Be Right Backs on Plots in Darkenhaven, where you can come into the Discord and you can interact with the plot team on Plots in Darkenhaven on Sunday nights. So if that's something you're interested, or you're willing to toss a couple bucks to keep the lights on and help us do this amazing thing that we're working on, please head over to our Patreon. So hopefully that will get moving and we can start.
I'm going to give you a follow right now.
Sweet.
There we go. We'll put the the chat.
Now, Corey, that means we actually have to build a reel for thank yous.
There you go.
Oh,
I think
we
I'm.
got
There you
yelled
go.
at. No, it's being dumb. Camera Mandy tried to share it, and it's being dumb.
Oh, sorry. But I am
It's not
now.
your fault. It's not
Congratulations!
your
I am now a
fault.
patron of the Tabletop Misfits. So
Thank you very much.
Woohoo!
yeah.
To bring the show to $200.
Oh, Nightbot camera beep. Stop posting links. I got a warning.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
Nightbot's grumpy, so I reposted it because Nightbot's grumpy. Because I said she's posting stuff and it's giving her warnings, it's yelling at her.
Hey, it took me like, I don't know, 6 months on Tabletop Misfits before he gave me the rights to post links.
You're right, it
Oh.
was.
Fair.
This is why
I had to
said
start
this-
running my own show before he would let me post links.
We build a team for this because I handed all this work over to our wonderful friend Eric, who is running the back end of all of that. If you end up using Fruip's Groupatorium, please let me know if you choose to play Globulus Fruip as, oh my goodness, it's a lot to talk. Hey, how about we just have you on the show for next season? I like that idea better. So
All right, so we're going to do a last call here for
yeah, I think so. If you have any questions for Mandy, myself, Corey, since Corey's finally back on the show for one episode.
I was here last week, you were not.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was at Gen Con. Actually, I was
Why are you
flying.
going to
that
try
day,
to make me
but,
cry again?
but no, if you have questions, please put those in the chat room. We can answer those before we call it for the evening.
I felt like I
if you have
talked a
questions
lot,
on
so I
Gen Con,
probably have given everything everyone needs to know.
yeah,
So
let's hope that. Let's hope that's the case.
That's what Tavern Talks all
I
about.
feel that I did a lot of talking, not as much about Gen Con. So
That's fine. So that's the wonders of this show. You start with an idea and you just
Yeah.
let the rabbit hole go.
okay, fair enough.
So
It's
how many
like a-
miles do you think you walked during Gen Con?
Oh, I can't even
Um,
begin to fathom how
So
long does that vendor let me ask you, do you know how long the vendor room is?
I have no idea.
It's like a football field, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's probably a football field. So sadly, yeah, funny joke on this one. So when I flew, I forgot my Fitbit charger. So before we even got to Gen Con, my Fitbit was dead. And I was like, well, I don't get to track it this year, but oh well. I know last year I walked 25,000 steps per day, almost. So
It's like Disney World levels of walking.
Mhm.
So
yeah, you
Just-
get your exercise in pretty well, that's for sure.
yeah.
I
Walking
probably
from
did.
room to
I
room.
probably did at least 10 miles just around the carnival as I was running games.
As you were GMing.
Yeah.
I like this idea from Jim. Next year, have a Fitbit competition for charity on who walks the most.
I
Ooh.
mean, I'm down.
That's interesting.
I'm
So,
sure that we can actually probably promote that outside of GUI Cube for that one, but yeah, no, it was a lot. What was I going to say? If you didn't go this year and you got to see what it looked like for the vaccination line, that was insane.
well, it was only insane the first day because Adam and I
Yes.
went the second day, and it
wasn't bad
was
at all.
no.
Yeah, we waited 45 minutes for our line, and that was about 3 hours before it got heavy. I know some people waited anywhere between 2.5 hours
Yeah.
for theirs. So
Yeah, it looped. This is something I'll point to. Casey will want me to say, so I'm just going to say it. So the vaccination line looped twice around the floor where the GUI Cube room was, and they put that GUI Cube banner of the
yeah, we
Gloom
did.
Port right outside the room, or not the Gloom Port. I'm sorry, it was the Verdestia
It was-
maps.
Yep,
Mhm.
it was the map.
Yeah, the maps of the Verdestia. And so people would walk by and look at our maps, and then they'd walk back again and be like, "Ooh, look at those maps." And we did actually have several people come to our booth because of that. So thank you.
Yeah.
It was very, very clever. So
Yeah, we were watching a lot of the. Like I said, I was watching a lot of the fans of Gen Con Facebook page, and a lot of them bought the maps. I think that's what they're showing on their fans of Gen Con page. I didn't see as many of the Darkest Dream. I saw a couple. But
Oh, we
those
had
There was.
lots
I
people
thought you
of-
sold out of
We
Darkest
did.
we
Dream.
did sell out as Darkest
They're just
Dream.
not
You're
posting
absolutely
it.
right. Or they just
Yeah.
didn't post it apparently.
So there was like
Or it's
100
different
Darkest Dreams
people.
that we sold out of, I want to say.
Yeah, it's over 300, yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
it was awesome.
it,
So
it was an amazing con. For a business standpoint, it sounded like a great con.
it-
I don't know
yeah.
those things. I'm not part of the team like, on that perspective. So
No, both Alphinius, I can end it on this.
Sure.
Alphinius and I got back. Everyone was exhausted. I actually left a day before because Adam had to work on Monday.
you
And
bought
well, he
you
actually
bought
had
the
jury
little
duty.
dragon thing. That looked pretty cool.
Oh yeah, at the random gas station in the middle of Missouri. I know that was
Oh wow,
hilarious.
that's where it was.
Yeah, it was $15, and I'm like, wow, if I was at GenCon, this would be like $300. So I
Right.
was like, I got to get that. But yeah, but we both got back to our office, and we were like, let's take a deep breath. It went really well, and like we both felt like it had gone really well. And it hasn't been officially announced yet, but we did win an award at GenCon.
Do we know what the award was?
I know what it was, but
Oh,
I'm
okay,
going
you know what it
to
was.
wait for the official announcement
All right.
because I don't know.
On Goo Mornings IFA.
Yeah, I know, right?
On Saturday
No, I think it's the
morning
official
on
announcement from the
GoeyCube.
person who does the
Oh.
award or the company. I don't know. So I don't want to speak too soon and then be wrong. But yeah, no, we feel very fortunate that okay, and I'll just end it here. Let me just say one
Go
more
for it.
thing. Eating people is what I said.
Eating
But what I
people?
meant was that meeting people, meeting the community at these events is honestly the number one highlight of any convention, including Gen Con and any other convention we attend. Is just getting to talk to people who know our stuff, love our stuff, and meeting new people who are going to become part of the community. So thank you all for that.
And I think I did it jokingly, but I think it does require a huge shout out. That Saturday mornings, every Saturday morning, there's a Goo Mornings IFA stream that camera Mandy makes sure happens no matter what, even if there's traffic tickets involved. Or
the Snowmageddon where Adam hosted most of the stream. Yeah.
So yeah, it's the Gooey Cube on Twitch, right? Or is it?
Yes,
just
Gooey Cube. Or sorry, what am I talking about? Twitch.tv/the Gooey Cube.
Right.
So yeah.
Somebody stole GoeyCube. It's ridiculous.
TheGooeyCube.
All right.
I don't know if you actually need me to spell it, but you said somebody spell it, so okay.
Nope.
Or maybe that's not what you said, and maybe I just spelled something randomly for no
That
reason
wasn't
at
what
all.
I said, but it's all right. I said somebody stole it, not somebody spelled it.
Stole Gooey Cube.
But no, and with that, we are calling last call. Thank you all for coming. The tavern is officially closed. We will see you guys all next week as we bring in the Red Hair Inn, a good friend of mine who also runs streams over on Twitch. We're going to talk about a bunch of fun stuff. Until then, come hang out with us on Sunday for episode 6 of Plots in Darkenhaven. And until then, cheers.
Thank you.